Hello everyone, it's Silvia from Fairlight Tarot. Welcome to my channel and welcome to this week's subscribers readings. You will notice that we only have 3 decks today because I'm only gonna give 3 public readings, and the reason is that the second person I was going to do the reading for reached out to me this morning saying that she actually prefers to switch to a paid reading for a more complex kind of 6 months ahead reading, which is becoming more and more popular. We are at the end of May, and I do receive a lot of 6 months ahead kind of readings. There's I do the wheel of the year in November, the end of November, December, for the whole year, but generally speaking I always reach out to my clients by the end of May to see if they want to do another 6 months. And most of the time I do receive requests to do so. So we got 3 readings today, but let's start. So the first person who reached out to me requested for me to use the Tarot of the Abyss by Anna Torian. She is a fellow appreciator of Anna Torian's work. She loves this tarot deck, and so do I. And so I was really happy to consent to her request. This is one of my favorite tarots to read whenever I really want to do a numerological kind of reading, because as you know, if you watch my channel, you will know that this deck has got a couple of alternative cards. It's got the 3 of Swords and the 10 of Swords that can be read numerologically, or if you prefer the traditional way of reading WS for those 2 cards, you also have the traditional way to read them too. But I read numerologically most of the time, and I really do appreciate it when I find a deck like this one that shows you the 10 of Swords as the completion into the suit of the mind, the achievement of everything that has happened to achieve the 10, to arrive to a 10. It's the achievement of that state of wisdom that we need to have. And so therefore we can see that we have this couple of figures. So one wise man looking at an owl, and there is this fantastic energy flowing between them. There is this sharing of knowledge, sharing of the kind of wisdom you achieve after having been through a lot. And we see that every now and then in tarot decks, especially tarot decks that are heavy in numerology, as we said before. So I really like the fact that this tarot gives you this possibility, so the possibility of reading the 3 of Swords and the 10 of Swords in a numerological way rather than the traditional symbols. Let's have a look though. As usual, let's give it a shuffle. And I forgot, so the question, this person is, let's say she's on the cusp of taking a major decision that will change completely her life. And it's a tough decision, but it's a good one. It's she's choosing something good for herself. She just wants to know if there's anything she needs to be aware of, any kind of energy that she needs to pay attention to when it comes to the big thing, that journey that she's going to embark upon. Okay. What have we got here? Let me see if I can perhaps zoom in a little, not too much. Okay. Okay, now first things first, let me tell you, I don't always get the World card in the current situation. The World card to me is a very much of a final kind of card, in the sense that it's let's say when you literally just reach the peak of your possibilities, and for it to come to the present situation, which is always something very evolving, very fluid, very dynamic, in the sense that we always see this kind of linear evolution. So we come from a past, from any kind of circumstances in the past, and we find ourselves in a present situation in which we have to deal with something, and that's how we deal with it. But the world as a present situation, this gives me a very positive kind of vibe. Overall, these cards are really, really beautiful. Let's get into it. So the world in the present situation, to me, we can see it in one or two ways. Either you actually completed everything you needed to do, and you find yourself wanting to make a change simply because you had achieved everything you set out yourself to do, and now you want something else. And so there's this awareness that you have completed the cycle and you want to start another one, not out of necessity, not out of unfavorable circumstances. So it's not the Six of Swords. It's not the kind of change or journey you have to embark upon because you have to leave something negative behind. It's not the Eight of Cups. It's the way in which you've done things so far have been positive, has reached its completion, its end, its natural ending, and therefore you still want to put things in motion. You still want to use the energy that you have and start doing something else. I think it's wonderful. I think it's fantastic. For the kind of background you were so kind as to share with me, I do recognize that we can definitely see that in here. And I think that it's a wonderful thing. It's a big change, what you're going to do. And but let's have a look at the other cards. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. So we've got the Two of Cups in the past. This makes sense to me because obviously you have had your relationship, you have reached the full potential of the relationship. It was such a positive partnership, not even a relationship, but the Two of Cups it's expressing the kind of partnership that sees two people sharing pretty much everything. And I love the fact that, you know, if we want to call the mermaid a merman, which I don't know whether it's correct from the point of view of etiology. So, you know, are these two actually belonging to that kind of category? I don't know. But in any case, what I do love about this card is the fact that their tails, if these are tails, are intertwined. Now, this to me has a couple of, from a symbological point of view, has a couple of meanings, because this kind of intertwined drawing, we see it many, many times in, for example, if you think about it, the two snakes and the tail of the two snakes that are intertwined. We see it in with the stuff in the middle. That's a symbol for Paracelsus, for example, and that's the symbol for doctors and anything related to the medical profession, or even for pharmacies around the world. Many cases they will have this kind of the stuff in the middle with the two snakes intertwined around it. That is always to refer to the dual nature of the human spirit. The fact that we are complete by ourselves, but we need also to see ourselves mirrored into someone else. And that's the meaning of this card. So it's reflected in this intertwining of the tails. So there is completeness for the person on the right and the person on the left. However, there is a conscious choice to unite their two destinies, their two lives in this way. And this is very beautiful. I really appreciate the way Anna is drawing these cards, because it's very symbolical, and it's also the kind of symbology that helps you find an even more subtle meaning to certain cards. We have the World card, as I said before, the completion, the fact that we have two So this is, if seen this way, it's the symbol of infinity, but it's on the lemniscate. But in this case, it's actually a pride, which to me also suggests the figure of the hourglass somehow. So we see, for example, that there's two, as if there were realms, and pointing out that there is an as above and there's a so below. So in the so below, we see the new beginning. We see the fact that we need, and it's a fetus. It's like clearly, you know, kind of crouching on a fetal position, because it really symbolizes the new beginning. Whereas we see the open eye at the top, which symbolizes that kind of knowledge that you achieve, that the hero achieves after completing his journey throughout all of the 22 trumps of the majors. So this is definitely pointing out that you have completed this wonderful adventure of partnership that you had in the past with this person. You've come to the present, and now you have decided that it's time to change and time to embark upon another adventure. But you're not forgetting that you actually need to be part of something. So the Three of Pentacles is always the building of the team, let's say, the construction that takes place thanks to the fact that each and every person that belongs to the team comes to the team with their own set of skills, and they know how to use them, and they also commit to using them in an equal way. So there's no one really, well, in this case, they're pulling a rope. So let's say there's no one pulling more than someone else, okay? It's not like the person whose this hand belongs to is pulling more than this person. They are equally using their own strength and skills in such a way that they can achieve something together. And I think that this is something you were asking, whether there is something you need to be aware of, some kind of energy you need to be conscious of, and this is the message of the cards. This is a confirmation that what you're doing is definitely something that is going to bring that level of joy that you already achieved, but you want to start something new. This is going to be a really big adventure, and it's a positive adventure. These are really beautiful cards. Don't forget that you're not an island. No man is an island. You need to achieve whatever it is that you set your mind on, with the helps of others. And this also reminds you that you're all equal, okay? You're all equal. That's something very important. I see a lot of balance in this reading as well, because we have the suit of water and suit of cups, and the suit of earth, which is the suit of pentacles. So we've got a dynamic element, and we got a stable element, and we got the union of dynamism and stability in the world card. So this is a really good reading. I would definitely recommend that. The only thing that I feel like telling you is don't try and achieve stuff on your own. Be aware that you have your specific role, but you need to be surrounded by a team, so you're not alone. Best of luck. So as I said before, the second person has opted for a more complex 9 cards, 6 months ahead kind of reading. And the third person has requested for me to use the Desert Illuminations Tarot, which made me really happy, because I really love this tarot deck. It's absolutely gorgeous. I absolutely love this edition. This is the first edition, which is the one with the white borders. I have to say, and there's a couple of cards that are different. For example, the full card is different. I have to say, I actually prefer this edition to the second edition, which I don't have, so I might be wrong. The second edition is borderless, but what happens is that it feels like the artwork has been a little bit zoomed in, so it feels like it's somehow, even though it is borderless, it feels like it's difficult to see it. I don't know if that makes sense. But I'm not one that loves borders in general. I really prefer, my tarot decks to be borderless. But I think that in this case, because of the colors being so saturated, I think it actually works. I think it helps contain the artwork, within the cards. I love the fact that we've got aliens in this deck. I absolutely love This is the Five of Pentacles, but then the suit of Pentacles is renamed the suit of cactus. And I really, really love that we got aliens coming over with their spaceship. But in any case, so this is the request by this person. She also loves this tarot deck. She knows that I have it. And so she is requested for me to use this. And so this reading is about the new job that this person is going to start soon. Or in a couple of months. But in any case, she has changed job. And she wants to know more or less how things look like. Again, if there's anything she should be aware of, anything she should be mindful of, but also anything encouraging or anything positive that the cards want to express as a message. So as always, I'm just going to shuffle. Okay, let's see what we've got here. Okay. Okay, now first of all, I noticed that there is the Hermit card, so there is a major. I always have a look at the presence of majors in a 3 cards pool because of the odds being very low. And what I notice also is that there are 2 sevens, which is, you know, even lower odds because there's only 4 7 in the whole deck if we don't count the Chariot card numerologically. And we can have a look at what these cards mean. So first and foremost, having a look at the central card, this is literally telling me a bit of a resume, a bit of a wrap-up of your current situation. You have been applying for a different job, and there's been an interview. It's gone really, really well. You have received an offer and you have accepted it, and you're just looking forward to start this new job. That's in a nutshell the 7 of Pentacles. It's actually a step forward from the 7 of Pentacles. The 7 of Pentacles is still that card that tells you that you have done a lot. You have reached a bit of a perhaps a fork in the road, and you need to take a decision. But what the 7 is telling me is that it's a good job. It's something good that you've done for yourself. You just need to assess whether the direction you're on right now is actually the one you want to be on. Is it the correct one? And once you've assessed that, you need to afterwards take, you know, the decision to actively pursue the goals that you set yourself to onto. This is a card that is literally just telling me that you've done the right thing in stepping away from this situation. Okay, so I feel that this 7, even though your situation to me is more like an 8 of Pentacles in the sense that you've already assessed, I feel that the cards are telling you that there is still a bit of a heaviness, okay, in your current situation that comes from the 7 of Swords. So in this deck, the 7 of Swords, the suit of Swords is a suit of daggers, but it's very similar. Daggers and swords. Daggers are shorter swords. So basically, it feels more like, even though, let's say the facts will point to an 8 of Pentacles, because it's like the hard work, you already decided that you're on the right direction. You're setting yourself to do this hard work, and continue into it. Because there's a lot of heaviness and deceit coming from the 7 of Swords, which is in the past, it feels as if this is still dragging you a little bit. This is heavy still on perhaps your mind, your conscious, your spirituality. It's bringing you down a little bit. And it feels like the natural way of reading this kind of evolution will point out to the Hermit as some kind of advised to step away just for a while to reconnect with yourself, to perhaps also reconnect to nature and find those things that made you, the wonderful person that you are, and the person that actually has achieved everything that you have achieved so far. It's asking you to reflect on those things, meditate, and have a look at what you've done. Gain the knowledge and the certainty and the confidence that perhaps has been a bit shaken by the Seven of Swords, because your situation, for what you've told me, it's not a Seven of Pentacles. However, the cards see that, they look into it and they see it as a Seven of Pentacles. So not so they ask you, they advise you to actually look around yourself, take a break, take a moment, look around yourself, decide whether you're going down the right path or not, because there's such heaviness here. Now, generally speaking, to be honest with you, the Seven of Swords, I read it in many different ways. It's not just the betrayal, the deceit that we see in many symbols of the cards, and many other decks depict the Seven of Swords as the person who is actually stealing, carrying these swords, and they're crouched and they're advancing, almost crawling, and they're looking behind their shoulders because they're worried that they will be found out. Now, to me, that sneakiness can result from many different circumstances. In many cases, it's the sneakiness that results in, let's say, you living in an environment that actually pushed you to be that sneaky. Not because you are sneaky as a person, but because necessarily, in order to survive, in order to stay afloat, you had to do some things you're not necessarily proud of, you're not necessarily happy about. Okay, so you had to sneak out, you had to sneak away, you had to carry those swords, perhaps not doing everything kosher, okay, not doing everything like you should have done, but because the circumstances pushed you to be that way. Or that's another way of reading a Seven of Swords, is definitely the traditional way of the betrayal. So there's someone who's actually stealing from you, stealing that in a career kind of reading, job, environment. Could be someone who's actually been taking away the promotion you were supposed to have. Okay, and therefore it's a kind of result that we see in this specific reading, that even though it's not the general way in which I read the Seven of Swords, I am more inclined to read it this way, this more traditional way in this kind of reading, because of the situation you're coming from. So it's really heavy, it's still heavy in the present situation, and it's really advising you to just be mindful of everything that you've done. Be proud and gain that kind of confidence that now that you're changing job, start anew, start afresh, but don't forget of what you're capable of. Okay, all the best. So the fourth person is asking, how can I best advocate for animal rights? And I've been thinking about it, and I decided to use, so they didn't request a specific deck, but I decided to use the Oak, Ash and Thorn tarot, simply because, well, it feels like a cliche in the sense that, of course, due to the question, I thought about an animal deck, but it's not just that. I feel that this tarot deck, as opposed to other animal-centered or animal-themed tarot deck, is actually looking at animals as animals. So let me explain this. There's a lot of tarot decks that personify animals, and that it could be extremely cute, it could be, for all the right reasons, and it could be absolutely fine. However, I do believe that as human beings, when we think about animals, we need to respect them for what they are, and we need to so that's something that I found myself to be very caring about. I care a lot about animals. I love all animals, and they are a very important part of my life. It's also because if we look at, the brain biology, for example, petting an animal, so spending quality time with an animal, hugging an animal, cuddling with an animal, is actually producing oxytocin. Okay, so the oxytocin is a neurotransmitter that is being produced in the brain and is the equivalent of the neurotransmitter that is produced whenever two people hug each other. So there is the kind of wonderful feeling of let's say it's a mutual kind of benefit. It's something that helps us and helps the others as well. And I strongly believe, I'm not an expert on animals. I have studied the human brain, so that's the only thing that I can say for, with certainty. So I could be wrong whenever I speak for animals, and I don't expect to speak for animals. But what I believe is that whenever there's affection from a human towards an animal, the animals actually can see that, they perceive that, they realize that, okay? And they can give affection back. I mean, if I look at my cats, there's everything, all the spectrum of human emotions is there. And sometimes they're also being, they're being unpleasant to me. They're being, well, you forgot to feed me. It's been already, 10 minutes and you're late. And what do you expect? Of course, I'm acting out because I'm hungry. So there's this kind of expectation from me to treat animals as animals and respect them for what they are. When we try to anthropomorphize, if that's the right word, animals, we risk missing out on how best to help them. But that's just what I think. And as I said, I don't want to enter in merit of this conversation in the sense that I'm not an animal expert, by no means. But in any case, I thought that this deck would have been probably the best one to use it, because it's a very kind of deck. So I need to take out these cards. It's a very kind of deck, and it's a beautiful deck, but it also gives animals the dignity of being animals. So existing in the realms of animals and what they do. Okay, so obviously there are human elements in the cards because, well, we have to be able to tell that this is the Five of Wands. If there weren't wands around, we wouldn't be able to tell, or the swords, etc. But other than that, you will not see animals sitting at the table. You know what I mean? The personification of animals. You will, on the other hand, see animals doing whatever they actually do whenever they express themselves in their lives. So it's a very beautiful deck, but let's have a shuffle. Okay. So, what do we got here? Let's have a look. Wow. Okay, so there's one thing about this deck that I probably forgot to mention. There's a couple of cards that are not part of the traditional, let's say, 78 cards of major amount of arcanas of the tarot, traditional tarot. There are a couple of cards that express a concept rather than the energy of the arcanas. And I see that we've got one here. What I also noticed is that we actually have a couple of core cards here, the other two cards. Now, there's different ways in which to read a core card when it comes to very specific kind of spreads. This is a 3 cards pool. Therefore, I have the possibility to read core cards as archetypes. if I feel like they represent an archetype, but I can also read them for for an indication of time. There could be a couple of different possibilities. What I also see is that we got the suit of water, we got the suit of fire, the suit of the emotions, and the suit of the movement, the energy, the fantastic expression of vitality and the spark of life of the Queen of Wands. Now, the Queen of Wands, in this case, I feel like there is this kind of I will read it as an archetype. So the Queen of Wands is the performer, in the sense that there is the fantastic completion of the actual court card of the Queen. So the Queen, throughout the 4 cards of the court, is the one that has achieved their maximum capabilities and possibilities, and they are at that stage in which they just achieved it. Is something that they master within themselves. And it's at that stage that precedes the king. So the king is the one that once they have achieved this mastery of their own skills, they are ready to give back to the world. Okay, so there's always this kind of not contradiction, but this kind of definition of the queen in respect to the king, and of the king in respect to the queen. The queen has the same kind of mastery of the king, but is at the stage in which we have just achieved that mastery, and we haven't had the possibility, or we haven't progressed into the evolution of the king, which is actually giving back to the community. What this tells me in this specific reading is that you are already in this environment, as you've been talking about, let's say this environment that belongs to the advocates of animal rights. So obviously there are people around you, obviously there is an institution, probably also an organization around you. I don't want to go too much into details because not knowing anything specific, I prefer to stay to the message that the cards are telling me. And they're telling me that you are quite prominent in this organization, institution, group. You will know what I mean, because I don't necessarily know whether you are in an organization or not. But if you are quite prominent, you are quite an important person. And you're the kind of person that actually has that kind of effect on others, in which others actually come to you. They look up at you because because you have achieved that kind of maturity that others are still reaching for example. Although it does feel like there is that kind of a last step missing, in which you will become a king. So at the present situation, you're still the queen, you're still the kind of archetype which is the performer. You are at the center of the attention in this specific environment. And obviously, let's not forget that the suit of wands is the suit of fire. The suit of fire has always been the element, one of the most dynamic element, is an element that is in contrast to others, in the sense that, for example, water and fire, as we know, do not necessarily agree. They don't necessarily go hand in hand together. So fire stands on its own. Fire is only helped by air, but we don't have any air element in these cards. So it almost feels like you have achieved this status as the performer, as the queen of fire, but it's something that it's almost as if you're standing on your own on this end, and it comes from a bit of a different situation. It comes from a Knight of Cups. Now the Knight of Cups, there's many ways to read that. If we read that as the archetype, the Knight of Cups is the Odonovan, in the sense that it could signify perhaps that you have entered this association thanks to perhaps someone you knew, someone you met, someone you possibly even have a relationship, a romantic relationship with. But what I want to read is, this is very specific and I don't have enough cards. Normally I will put some additional cards to see whether this card is referring indeed to a person. What we can say for now is that if it's not a person, it can be that kind of environment in which we have that kind of the elements of water that is referring to the emotion, referring to the feelings. There's a lot at stake here. There's a lot of animosity. There's a lot of if your archetype is the Queen of Fire, when you come from a situation, an emotional situation, this will be almost a boiling kind of water. Okay, it's like putting a pot full of water on top of fire. The water will boil at a certain point. So it feels like there's been a lot of animosity. There's been a lot of really intense feelings and emotions related to this situation in the past that has kind of pushed you to do something, and that's how you graduated, you became, and you matured into the Queen of Wands. So you actually took a step ahead, let's say took a step further into this natural progression. What I can see is that because your question in specific is how can I best advocate for animal rights, I love the fact that we've got the card of possibilities here. You have shared a couple of comments that I'm not going to share publicly here, but what I can tell is that you probably find yourself in a position in which this fire has probably also a little bit burnt you. And therefore, the fact that you find yourself still at the center of the attention and with the pressure of having to decide what to do next, because let's not forget the Queen of Wands is always under the spotlight. The fact that you have the possibilities card in the future tells me that you should not lose momentum. You should not lose courage. You should not get, a bit discouraged. Okay, so you should definitely trust and believe that there will be possibilities coming for you. There will be ways in which you can eventually, if you find yourself in a pickle, you will be able to sort that out, to fix it. If you find yourself a little bit discouraged, a little bit, as you said, burned out, there may be the possibilities that come your way. Okay, so it's definitely a very positive reading. I don't see anything concrete in the sense that the cards are not telling you you should do this or you should do that. What the cards are telling you right now is more like don't lose hope, because there's been a lot of animosity, as I said. There's been a lot of being under the spotlight, maturing in this position, probably being burned a little bit by this fire, but don't get discouraged. Don't lose momentum, because there are possibilities coming your way. And I really love the fact that the card of possibilities, I don't know if it's clear. Let me just get it closer to the camera. So I don't know if it's clear, but this is there's a couple of animals here. There's a fox, there's a hare or rabbit, wild rabbit, and they are actually protected. So there is a dragon, but the tail of the dragon, as you can see, is actually spiraling around them and protecting them. So this is a way to show you that the possibilities come in the realm of the protection, and this is indeed what you're asking for, and this is the environment in which you're acting in. So you want to protect animals, and therefore the card of possibilities is specifically depicting the protection in the animal realm. And this is a really beautiful card. It's not just positive in the sense that it is, a really good results, let's say, but it's also because the way in which is showing this the meaning of this card. So this is what the cards are telling you. Best of luck. Now, thank you so much everyone who stayed with me till the end of this video. As I said, this is my series in which in the midweek I give free readings to subscribers. So if you're a subscriber, if you're not, please subscribe to my channel. And when you do, just reach out to me. If you go to the community tab, you will see there's an email. There's a post where I specify the email in which you need to send me a message with your question, and also specify if you want a certain deck for me to use or not. And there's, I will get back in touch with you explaining when I'm expecting to give you the reading. And then I post them midweek, as I've done now for 7 weeks in a row. So it's kind of, it's been very, very beautiful for the exchange that I've had with you. It's something that I really, really enjoy. So please, reach out to me and let me know what you want me to read in the cards for you. So please don't forget to like and subscribe. More to come. Have a great day.